Friends, it's Roger coming at you from the Bunker of Awesome here in Madison, Wisconsin. Welcome to Timely Tuesday. I don't know if that's the official name that we're going to keep for this blog, but I've been getting a lot of good feedback from folks that the lessons that we're teaching, the content we're bringing to you, seems to be right on time. Getting a lot of emails that are like, "Hey, that message was exactly what I needed today, so happy to deliver some timely information for you." It is December 1st as I'm posting this. Imagine that you're probably tuning into this sometime between the 1st and maybe the 7th or 8th. I don't know. But it's time for us to talk about how to navigate what can be kind of like a straddling the calendar month, right? It's the last month of the year. And there's a thing that I want to teach you about. It's a practice that we at Freedom Personal Development engage in, and that we have all of our clients engage in, and it's really, really key to making the transition from one year into the next so that you maximize both. So hang out with me for a few minutes. Let's go. All right. So this practice that I'm talking about is what we refer to as a mini retreat. Some of our clients call it a strategy session. Some of our clients call it a planning day or a business planning day. Some people call it their goal setting session for the new year. I don't really care what you call it, but essentially what we're talking about here, it's more than an hour. It may or may not be an entire day. It may or may not even be like an entire weekend. Like when we do this with groups of our clients, we'll actually devote several days to this process. I'm going to give you the DIY version of it here, and it's going to require somewhere between half a day and a day to do this properly. I'd encourage you to give yourself a day to do this. So let's talk about the how, the when, the where, etc. All right. So the first thing to make this work, to handle the transition, to handle a strong finish to this year and a strong start to next year. Oh, and by the way, some enjoyment of the holidays along the way. There's kind of a few steps that you want to pay attention to. One, and do this with me right now if you would, please. I want you to just kind of give yourself an honest assessment of what situation are you in. There's kind of three possibilities that I see people in right now. Number one, you might be in the situation where this year has actually been really good for you. I know I say this all the time, but we're really blessed to have been working with people as coaches this year who have done what's necessary and overcome a ton of adversity. And a lot of our clients are actually in the scenario where they're like, it's actually been a really good year. A lot of our clients here it is, it's December 1st, and they're going, I've actually already hit all of my goals for the year. No matter what I do in December, I'm going to hit all my goals. Many of them have actually had record-breaking years, best years ever. And we've got a lot of people who may not have everything wrapped up right now, but they're kind of going, you know what? If I just sort of like do what I've been doing, I'm going to end up having an amazing year. That's great. If that's your situation, great. You're in category number one. Category number two is that you have you still have a shot at your goals, but in order to do that, you're going to need kind of a Herculean effort, right? Like you're going to need to have a big push at the end, or what some of our clients refer to as the December sweats, right? Maybe you're going, okay, we've done good, but man, I'm going to need to pull a rabbit out of a hat here at the end. I'm going to need a big push here in December. It's going to require a lot of work. That's number two. And then number three is you might be in the situation, and I know a lot of folks who are in the situation where they're like, the best thing about 2020 is that it's going to be freaking over in 30 days. Like they're just kind of have, for one reason or another, either professionally or personally, have just been sort of beat up, and you're kind of exhausted and really just going, please, can this just be over? If that's the case, my guess is that you're maybe a little bit feeling like a little bit like dead in the water and just kind of wondering what to do, or it might be manifesting as you're just like you're just waiting for this one to be over so that you can wipe the slate clean, start over again in 2021. That's cool. That's I don't think you're making excuses for yourself if you are in that situation, but make note of that. If that's the situation that you're in, I would just call that category number 3. All right? So that's number 1. Just give yourself an honest assessment of like really where are you at? Are you crushing it? Are you needing the December sweats to get all the way there? Or are you just like I've been beat up a little bit here and I'm a little exhausted? Number 2 then, step 2 is to determine, all right, like where you're at determines when should you have this day with yourself, this extended meeting with yourself to get your head around where do we go from here. If you're in category number 1, right, where you're cruising along, I would tell you that anytime in the month of December is great. I actually have a client of mine that I did one of these retreats with at my cabin just this past weekend, and it was great. He's definitely a category 1 guy, and we had a wonderful time doing it together. So feel free anytime if you're in category 1. If you are in category 2, where you've got to be super focused on your day-to-day in order to get there, what I would tell you is focus on that before you take time out to reflect. If you got to go nuts in December, great, go nuts in December. Sweat it out if you have to. Feel the burn if you need to. And once you have gotten where you want to get, once you've had the month that you want to have, then by all means, please feel free to give yourself a day or two for reflection. Understand that that's probably going to be more like December 30th, 31st, 20, maybe even into early January before you do it. But do what you got to do and then have this day with yourself. And if you're in category 3 where you're just kind of dead in the water and exhausted, here's what I would tell you. Call me or email me. Reach out to me or my team because you've got a unique situation. I would tell you that you don't, if you're kind of down in the dumps and if you're feeling dead in the water, that's just not a good mental place to be in to have the kind of day that you want to have in preparing for next year. And there's some things there's a couple different ways that you can go to just sort of like get your mojo back before you have this day with yourself. And I don't know, for your situation, I don't know which way you would want to go. It could be that you just should have a couple good weeks of work. It could be that you need to go sit on a beach for a week. It could be that you need some other things that maybe we can provide. So no joke, if you're in category 3, please reach out to me. I want to help you figure out when it is that you ought to have this day with yourself. All right, so then number 3 is, let's talk about the mechanics, the nuts and bolts, the when and how. We've talked about the when, let's talk about the where and the how do you conduct this meeting with yourself. I would really encourage you, when you're going to have a planning day, a goal setting day, a strategy session, a retreat, whatever you want to call it, for most of you, it's a good idea to do this away from your workplace, away from your office, typically is what that looks like. There's a reason why when we do retreats, we don't do them on site for people. When we have days of learning, we intentionally want to get people out of their normal environment because it reduces distractions. Outside of that, I would tell you to find a place that you generally enjoy. I will be doing my day at my woodland retreat that you've seen because I have nothing but good feelings when I'm there, and it's super quiet and I can think for extended periods of time. There is always the exception that proves the rule. I have 2 clients that I can think of that when they do a day like this, they need access to resources that help them set goals, clarify things, and those are only found in their office. And they're really, really good about locking the door and having it stay locked. If you're in that situation, cool, but in general, I'd recommend that you go someplace other than your office. And then your time is just going to be built around 3 questions or 3 things that you want to do. 1, you're going to want to devote about a third of that day to kind of an autopsy of 2020. How did it go for you? Highlights, lowlights, lessons learned, if there was anything that you'd like, that if you could go back in time and do anything different, what would you do differently about it, right? Get all of that out and get it all out in writing. Like, clear it out of your head. Second thing that you want to accomplish is, all right, so looking forward, what do I want to do in 2021? Look at the year that you've got ahead of you and gain some clarity on, okay, what do I want and why do I want those things, right? It's a key question for your brain. And then what you'll want to do, once you've got that clarity, I would say that should be at least a third of your time, and probably maybe even more as a percentage. And then what happens is the third thing, it typically becomes pretty obvious to go, okay, well, what will I need to do differently? What are the upgrades or the changes that I'll need to make? Key component when you're thinking about that, keep it simple. If you come out of this meeting with yourself going, hey, there's 15 things that I need to do differently, you didn't do it right. When I say come up with the upgrades that you want to make, if it needs to be less, it needs to be 6 or less. We don't have time in this video to get into all of the reasons why, but I'm talking about a small handful of things. Oftentimes it's 2 or 3 things that you need to upgrade, but it's never more than 6 without repeating yourself or overcomplicating the process. So that's the basics on how to transition between one year and the next gracefully. And again, if you'd like some more, if you'd like some guidance on how to do this for yourself or with me, like, this is a service that we provide. We'll do a day like this with our clients, sometimes one-on-one, sometimes in small group settings, but we can help facilitate it. Or barring that, I might be able to give you some good guidance on how to do this for yourself in a way that's really, like, cost effective. So anyways, I hope this has been helpful to you. Do yourself a favor. Decide when you ought to do this day. Put it on your calendar. And if you need any help on how to do it effectively, just let me know. Comment with a question in the blog. Shoot me an email. Get in touch with me. We love helping people make this transition because it really, really is key. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me here on Timely Tuesday. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great month. And I hope you have a wonderful transition into an elevated 2021. Come on back next week. Come on back in 168 hours where we will have some more good, timely advice for you. I think you're awesome. Go have a great week.